Marcoss was a brilliant tactician, a brilliant politician. He knew what he was doing. But by the time of this uprising, he was a terribly sick man.
Marcoss had repeatedly denied that he was sick, but in truth, he was seriously ill. Stricken with a kidney disease called systemic discoid lupus, the strongman needed a dialysis machine and other medical equipment in a private hospital within Malacanang to keep him alive. On February 24th, a telegram from the U.S. Embassy in the Philippines to the State Department reports the presence of a cordon sanitaire around the president, and that since the 22nd, most of his advisors had lost access to the president. Day 4, 3 a.m. Manila time. Marcoss phones a longtime ally, U.S. Senator Paul Laxalt in Washington. He asks whether Secretary of State George Shultz, Ambassador Stephen Bosworth, and others were conspiring to eliminate him irrespective of President Reagan's intentions, or whether President Reagan sincerely desired his resignation. Senator Laxalt discusses the matter with President Reagan, and an hour later calls President Marcoss. Desperate to remain in power, Marcoss proposes a coalition government with Corazon Aquino. Laxalt offers Marcoss safe haven in the U.S.
I hate to tell you this, but as far as I'm concerned, I think that you should cut, make it a clean cut, and move on. Then there was the strangest thing. There was this tremendous pause for what to me was almost an interminable length of time, probably a minute or so. And I finally said, Mr. President, can you hear me? And he finally responded weakly and said, yes, Senator, I do hear you. I am so very, very disappointed. He was finally accepting reality, and while I had no solid assurance that he would leave, I felt at that point that he was at least seriously considering it.
Manila, February 25, 10:40 a.m., Day 4.
And Salvador H. Laurel are taking power in the name and by the will of the Filipino people.
Corazon Aquino takes her oath of office as President of the Republic of the Philippines at Club Filipino in Quezon City. Roy Laurel is appointed Vice President. Fidel Ramos, Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces. And Juan Ponce-Enrile, Defense Minister. Approximately 1 hour later, President Marcos stages his own inauguration ceremony at Malacanang. The ceremony is broadcast live on the only remaining government TV station, Channel 9.
When we withdrew that, in effect, that was the last blow. And within just a few hours, Marcos began considering how he could best leave the Philippines.
February 25, a telegram from the U.S. Embassy in Madrid to the U.S. State Department. According to the telegram, the U.S. had sought the possibility of President Marcos seeking asylum in Spain, but was rejected. According to U.S. sources, Marcos had, at this time, already made up his mind to resign. However, the people were not informed of his decision. Rebels take over Channel 9. After 9 p.m. on the same day, 77 hours into the revolution, the Marcos family flees from Malacanang in a U.S. military helicopter. After stopping first at Clark Air Force Base and then Guam, the Marcos family reaches their final destination, Hawaii. One and a half hours years after the Marcosses flee the Philippines, Secretary of State George Shultz officially recognizes the new Aquino government. The Marcos family is left without an option.
There must be some secret behind it. Maybe Reagan must be indebted to him. And if Marcos would not agree to what he is asking, maybe he might squeal. And that is politically bad. So you do not know this. But the question is, we did not think of driving Marcos away. But he was driven away by his own liking, because he fled. If he did not flee, he could have died.
The people savor the victory of people power. The past 77 hours have been their finest hours in which people of courage united to overcome a crisis.
Mr. Marcos has left this country. I guess it seems like we waited for this forever. And it certainly took a long time coming. And there have been so many heroes, yes. And we've said this over and over again all these days.
A telegram from Manila dated February 28. All reformist soldiers know that their action was a trigger for the revolt, but that they owe their success to the Filipino people. The new president of the Philippines, Corazon Aquino, visits the U.S. Congress half a year later on September 4. She is welcomed by thunderous applause.
3 years ago, I left America in grief to bury my husband, Ninoy Aquino. I thought I had left it also to lay to rest his restless dream of Philippine freedom. Today, I have returned as the president of a free people.
Changes have come about. Ronald Reagan is no longer in office. The communist empire that the U.S. had so feared has collapsed, and the Cold War has ended. The 2 U.S. bases in the Philippines were returned as a matter of course. An overpass has been constructed on EDSA, and a statue of the Virgin Mary has been erected in memory of the people who had stood against the tanks. See his country again. His wife Imelda returned to the Philippines and was convicted on graft charges, facing a possible jail term of 17 to 20 years. In 1995, she was elected representative of her home province. Corazon Aquino finished her term of 6 years and 4 months in June of 1992 and passed on the presidency to Fidel Ramos peacefully. At his inauguration ceremony, President Ramos vowed to exercise democracy and attain economic prosperity. After 4 years under Ramos, the Filipino economy has progressed and anti-government movements have diminished, but much still remains to be done. What has happened to the people who were gathered at EDSA? They are left with little time to reminisce about the EDSA revolution. Many children do not know EDSA, and time is passing.
We have already our freedom of speech. We can talk anything about against the government.
Kung gagawin ng ating presidente, mayroon pagbabago.
Kung gagawin po ng presidente.
Opo.
So, nung simula nung 10 years na yan, hanggang ngayon, wala po kayo nakita pagbabago?
Wala po. Lalo lumalala.
Lalo lumalala?
Opo.
In February 1986, the people were yearning for democracy, fighting through non-violent means, risking their lives for freedom. Euphoria reigned at EDSA, and a miracle did occur.
Well, basically, I think it's the restoration of some basic freedoms, freedom of press, freedom to dissent. Basically, that's it.
We were very lucky as a people, but we have been spoiled. You see, if you are going to have a real revolution, then you can expect major changes after that. There have been changes, but the changes have been very gradual.
Was this a revolution in a literal sense? The people have learned that crises can be overcome with courage, and that love, not hatred, peace, and not violence, are the stuff of which miracles are made.
I think there were no winners. There were no losers. We just. I think that we were placed again back to square one. We had to begin again as a people.